All right, so let's go ahead and do step number 3, which is to create the calculated fields. So what we need to do is go back to the actual ratios, the financial ratios that will be calculated. And let's start with the return on sales. Now, return on sales will take net income over net sales. So it's basically finding out how much income are you generating from all the sales that you're producing as a company, right? So let's go ahead and start with net income. Let's identify where net income is. And once we identify and locate net income, I want to create a calculated field from here. So the quick way to do that is to just basically grab the net income, right? Create a calculated field, and it's going to pop up this following calculation number 1. Well, I want this to be return on sales. So I am going to call it return on sales. And just like in Access Excel, I can type net income and select the net income. Notice that it was already printed in there, divided by net sales. In this case, we actually called it net sales. And that's it. That's how we generate return on sales. I could do ROS or return on sales. Let's just leave it as that. And notice that now I have a return on sales that is a calculated field. And if I want to go back and edit it because I made a mistake, I can just go back and press on edit on the menu, right? And change this formula in here. This is like saying this is equal to net income over net sales, just like we did in Airtables, just like we did in Access, and very similar to what we do in Excel or Google Sheets. All right, let's go ahead and create the next one. I'm going to try to do this a little faster. Return on assets, it's net income over total assets. So I'm going to go again and grab the same net income and create a calculated field. I'm going to call this return on assets. So this is net income over total assets. So notice that as soon as I type the word TO, it gives me all the matching field names that I have in my data set. And that is just beautiful, right? I can just go in and start, I don't have to worry about my misspell, my handwriting errors or my spelling errors as long as I follow the software, and it automatically identifies all of those fields that are similar to that name. Did I grab this? This is return on sales. This is return on assets. Perfect. Now the next one I want to do is return on equity, which is going to be net income over stockholders equity. So net income over stockholders equity, and I do have stockholders equity or shareholders equity. So for that, I'm just going to go ahead and create another calculated field named return on equity. Notice that I'm typing this in order for me to avoid a mistake, I would just copied and pasted it from the spreadsheet, or I could have just typed it return on equity. Again, this is net income over shareholders equity. Notice that as soon as I type the S, it popped up. So it is net income over shareholders equity. This is a calculated field, and that calculation is valid. So I can press OK, and I am done with that third field. Where is it? Well, it is right here, return on equity. The next one that I'm going to do is net sales over total assets, which is our asset turnover ratio. Now, let's make sure that we have net sales, which we do, and that we have total assets. Do we have total assets? Yes, we do. So which one do you want to grab? Well, why not do the net sales instead? Net income, uh, net sales is right here. So let's grab this one. Create a calculated field. We're going to call that asset turnover, right? So I'm just going to type asset turnover, and I'm going to say this is net sales over total assets. I could have just typed the TO and it would have done it for me. So net sales over total assets gives us our asset turnover ratio, and it's going to be set right here. Notice that I already have 4 of my calculated ratios. Next one that I'm going to do is my current ratio, which would be my current assets over current liabilities. Let me make sure I do have that. My current assets would be my total assets, current liabilities. Oh, voila, current assets, current liabilities. I found them to the right. Very easily. Let's just grab the numerator first, create this, and this is going to be my current ratio. And I'm going to use current assets over current liabilities. Voila. Now notice that if you have a financial company, you may not have current assets because all of your assets are considered the same. That's very typical. You're not going to be able to find this if you are an American Express, if you are any other type of financial institution that is not required to report those current assets, because all of them are supposed to be technically liquid. Now, let's make sure that we have total assets in our uh, data set, net income and shareholders' equity. We do have total assets right here. We do have net income because we used it several times, and we have shareholders' equity by a different name of stakeholders' equity. So it's okay if we call that shareholders' equity. Shareholders' equity. Beautiful. So that is done. We have already calculated the field. So let me make a stop to this video. Let me stop this video so that we can go to the next video. Thank you so much for listening.